Okay, so if you could change one thing about LGBTQ plus representation in mainstream media today, what would that be?
I think it would be to stop canceling so many shows that include lesbian character as a lead, or even like killing lesbian character in the end of the season, in the end of the shows.
Yeah.
Just that small part, if that can change, it will be already good.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so interesting, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle movies, books, comics, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read or watch in today's case. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and you're joining us during our June Pride Month special, where I'm inviting members of our colorful LGBTQ plus community from all over the world to come and share some stories which made them feel seen and what that means to each. Joining me today is my guest, Claira. Thank you for coming on the show, Claira.
Thank you for inviting me.
Is there anything you'd like to say to introduce yourself?
So my name is Claira and I am 25 years old. I identify myself as a lesbian and I'm from Taiwan. And this is my first time doing it, so I am a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I think that's quite normal. It's really scary to hear yourself kind of talk and then know that other people might be listening to it later. But I know I'm really excited because I think the story that you chose to talk about today is something that I actually have heard talked about a lot, especially when it comes to TV shows. So do you mind telling us what story you brought for us today?
The story I chose today is Killing Eve, the series, not a book, and it is my favorite series. It is a drama made by BBC, and it's also a black comedy, so it's about assassins and
like secret agents.
Yes, secret agent and like chasing each other type of story.
Yeah, so I heard a lot about it, but I had some misconceptions about the show, and reading about it was really interesting to me. I didn't realize it was based off of a book. I didn't realize that book was actually like a web novel series, but it sounds like there's a lot of really interesting drama. I think it's funny to hear it's like a black comedy. Do you think there's a lot of humor in the show?
I do think there's a lot of humor, but like really dark humor. It's not the type of humor.
What's about assassins? So
yeah,
it's going to be pretty dark.
Yes, like the way of the murder and how the character of Eve respond to things is like she's funny, but in a way that she's not trying to be funny, but she's just like a funny person.
Yeah. Unfortunately, even though she's dealing with a very serious problem, she's a funny person. Yeah. So her response is something funny.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to give us a summary. Today, we're going to be talking about just the very first episode for the summary. And then afterwards, we might kind of discuss the rest of the series and character growth from that point. But before that, is there anything else you think we need to know?
So the extra information, when I talk about this show, I don't talk about the last 5 minutes of this show because it is really bad and it is not in any of the fans.
No one likes it.
Yeah, no one's like it. I've never seen anyone like that. It's really
no. Okay, I know exactly the type of scene you're talking about. I don't know what happens, but I know other TV series where I do that same thing. I say, we're just not going to talk about that part. That part doesn't happen.
Yeah,
but we're going to talk about the rest of it. So, okay, Claira, can you please give us a summary of the first episode of Killing Eve, Season 1, Episode 1? I believe it's called Nice Face.
Yes. So the opening scene is Villanelle is in a cafe and she was sitting across a little girl. And the little girl is eating ice cream and then she just staring at her, and then she stand up and walk over and knock over the ice cream to the little girl's lap, and then just walk out.
Oh my God.
So that kind of give the audience
like a feeling
of who Villanelle is.
Mm-hmm.
Then another character, Eve, she was a MI5 officer.
Mm-hmm.
That she was like bored of doing the desk job
Mm-hmm.
and investigating a case that everyone else assumed that is a male murder. But
Mm-hmm.
she thinks otherwise, so she get beyond the investigation
Mm-hmm.
and go like across the rule to investigate the case.
Kind of like a typical detective that's like,
Yes.
I know I'm right. I have to break the
Yes.
rules to find the truth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the boss find out, and
Mm-hmm.
later on she got fired by the MI5, and then she got recruited by MI6.
So she kind of leveled up.
Yes.
I actually didn't know there was an MI5 until I was reading the summary for this. So now she's
Yeah.
on MI6.
She's now MI6 agent. And at the same time, they were investigating this case, which we will later know that is Villanelle
Yeah.
that did it. At the same time, Villanelle got another assassin order
Mm-hmm.
in another country. She
Okay.
just given a name and the person's background, and she kind of deal with this murder with a playful way.
Okay.
Like she started with playing with the person's grandchildren with hide and seek,
Mm-hmm.
and then throughout the hide and seek, the grandchildren will call in the grandpa,
Mm-hmm.
but the kid is still hiding. So
okay.
the one that comes out will be Villanelle, and it will be like throttling,
Mm-hmm.
and then she will like take out her hairpin and then just stabs, and then there's a poison in the hairpin.
Oh my God. That's kind of maybe the humor of it too.
Yeah,
Very dark.
very dark. And then after the kill, she would just go back casually and then spend all the money she got from the
Mm-hmm.
assassins in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
living
Having
her
like,
life.
yeah, like having a great time.
Yes, living her best life.
So how does this episode wrap up?
Eve kind of get almost hold on who this person might be.
So it ends with like a cliffhanger where she's about to get some key piece of information for who Villanelle might be. And then that's it.
Yes, and
Did they ever meet in this first episode?
it's either in the first episode or the second, but the first time they met was in the bathroom and they didn't know each other. And yeah, and Villanelle kind of have a things with Asian girls with curly hair.
Oh, so
she
Sandra
was,
Oh.
yeah, so
Yeah,
Sandra
yeah.
Oh is exactly who
It's
she
her
is.
type.
Yes.
I started laughing when you said they met in a bathroom because I just start thinking of all the jokes about how like girls' bathrooms are where you meet everybody.
Yes, they're met in a bed.
Okay, so maybe this episode, maybe the next episode, but in the first one, the one thing we know for sure is they haven't really officially met,
Yes.
but maybe they like pass each other or
Yeah.
see each other in the bathroom and they have these clues about who each other is.
Yes.
And before Eve can learn, you have to watch the next episode.
Yes. I have to keep watching those.
So I know when we were talking about like before the interview doing this, it was hard to kind of pick one episode to do because the whole show really explores these characters in, I think, great detail. And I know that that's something you wanted to talk about. So I wanted to say that first before I ask you the next question, which was, what about this show, Killing Eve, made you feel seen? And maybe it's not in the first episode.
I think the way it makes me feel seen is that this show doesn't make queerness a big deal. And I know for a lot of shows, they would show how a queer person like realizing they are queer and then struggling it, denying it, and then go to the stage of accepting it. But
They kind of
with-
have to go through like the grief stages
Yes,
almost.
they have stages. But for this show, I think they just make it seem normal.
Yeah.
They just go on with a show. They didn't put a big deal
Yeah.
on the fact that she's into women, or the fact that Sandra Oh's character is married and maybe she's also into women, that she's questioning and stuff, but they didn't make it a thing.
Yeah.
So it is like fresh to me.
Yeah.
Because I think I would say I'm lucky because I also didn't go through those struggle and accepting phases of queer. So when I watch those other shows, I would think that it's a good show, but I don't really feel like I see myself in this show.
Yeah, you can't like relate to that exact struggle because it never happened.
Yeah, it never happened to me. So it's new for me to see this show where people just be themselves, and Villanelle was just, unapologetic her.
Yeah.
It's just her.
I agree. I think this is actually something that I was talking about, like even before this, I was talking to someone else about like tropes that often happen to queer characters in media. And what you said just now is something that kind of bugs me as well, that I feel like whenever there are queer characters in whatever way, the story always just seems to focus on that as like the whole purpose of the story. And those characters then, it sort of feels like they get denied the opportunity to have these other interesting and frankly like normal narratives, like perhaps what happens in Killing Eve, where it's like, oh yeah, they're queer, but that's not the point. The point is that she's an assassin, she's killing a lot of people, and now she's attracted maybe to the detective who's following her. Like straight characters get to have that all the time.
Yes.
But oftentimes, like those same stories, if the characters end up being queer, they don't get to have that as the focus. They have to instead focus on like struggling with their identity instead.
Yes, that's why I think this is interesting, because they don't follow that rules of
that kind of
queer,
trope.
Media stuff.
It's very, like you said, I think it's refreshing.
Yes, it is.
Is that related to what meaning you think other people could find in this? Or do you think that there's something else as well?
I feel like this show represents a side of people that people refuse to talk about. Because this show, the relationship is toxic.
Oh, of course.
It's assassins and the agents, so it's toxic. And people don't like to talk about this stuff, but these people do exist.
Yeah.
And I don't like to call them toxic though, but because I have read a bit of the article, and some people are saying that Villanelle has borderline personality disorder, and many people see this disorder as toxic. And
I
so
see.
there's like
you don't want to like conflate the two.
Yeah.
Like just because she has borderline personality disorder, that by itself doesn't make her toxic.
Yes.
Right. But the way that she deals or maybe doesn't deal with it is what makes her toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. So this show that side of people where I know definitely a lot of people out there are like this, and they don't see it on media, because I think many people, like many producer, director, are scared that if they make a queer person toxic, then they will piss off the queer community, because they are making non-queer people think that queer people are toxic.
Yes. So. I know. This, it's not exactly the same thing, but I feel like it sort of reminds me of something that I also saw maybe like 10 years ago, when there was this kind of movement in storytelling, in screenwriting, and in like writing books, where a bunch of writers and a bunch of directors wanted to write strong women characters. And because every character who was a girl had to be like a strong female character, they couldn't do anything bad, or they're tough and not like other girls. But like every story kind of ends up being like this. So you end up making all the characters kind of exactly the same. And you don't get any different personality because people are too scared to, like you said before, like let these characters just be normal characters and not focus on like this one little aspect of their personality, whether that's their sexuality or their gender expression or anything like that. So it sounds like this show in that way is refreshing. I also like that it sounds like it's a detective and an assassin, which is kind of tropey, but instead of them like, and I'm going to totally change my ways and we're both going to become better people from this, that doesn't happen. Like, is that true or false?
I would say that we are not gonna talk about the last 5 minutes of the show.
Oh no!
So,
did I get into that?
Yes, they got into that but in the first 2 seasons, you can definitely feel that they were not getting in there. But because of the 4th season, they all have different producer.
Oh,
and
okay.
So it kind of shifty, and in the end, it ends badly. But before that happened, the show is completely not going into that direction where
they're not gonna be able to change each other.
Yeah, where they are going to just not just like stop killing people or like stop being obsessive.
That's who they are.
They're just who they are, and I think for this show is everyone deserves to be seen, even though they might have red flags, toxic traits, and you rarely see it in media, and especially in LGBTQ media.
Yeah.
So I think this show is pretty special to me because of that I see kind of myself. I'm not proud to say that, but I definitely see myself in that show and resonated with how she doesn't care about she's a lesbian, but she's also like very complicated, and there's so much more than just sexuality.
Plus, it's always fun to see, like you said, like these red flag relationships. I think the fun of all these different media is to see these different kind of like relationships, and including the ones that like don't work out or can't work out. But that doesn't mean that it's not fun to watch these guys spiral into whatever they're going to go into, whether or not it's going to work out. Like the fun is watching it happen, and then being able to have that option as a story for everybody, no matter how they identify. Yeah. So I think unfortunately we are out of time.
Oh.
Did it go fast?
Yeah, it's really fast.
But my last question for you is, if you could give Killing Eve, more specifically like Nice Face, the first episode, a one-phrase subtitle of your own, what would that be?
It is extraordinary.
Nice Face, extraordinary. That's a very fun sort of sentence flow to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have one last little question, but you can choose to answer it how you want. Is there anything that you see in media today that sort of like gives you hope that representation is getting better?
For lesbian, I would say no.
Yeah.
Because they are still always killing off the show, either the show or the character.
Yeah.
Once they reveal one of the leads are lesbian.
That's what we started the show with, was like, stop doing that.
Yes, it's not getting better. Many shows still do that. And they mostly only do that to lesbian. They don't really do that to shows that have leads with gay guy character. I think because they have more fans even with straight people.
Yeah.
Like straight people like to watch the gay romance as well. But with lesbian,
did they feel like
don't really?
Yeah, maybe they feel more disposable for some reason, which is really messed up.
Yeah,
that's the case. So knock it off, please.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've had a lot of fun talking about this. I was right that it was going to be interesting, and it was wonderful to talk with you. And to all of you listeners out there, this has been Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. You were joining us during our Pride special week, where we're talking to members of our colorful queer community to ask them about stories that make them feel seen. And today we were discussing Killing Eve, Season 1, Episode 1, Nice Face, Extraordinary, A Tale of Our Time. We'll see you next time.